to take to the House of Commons a proposal for legislation that would require that agreement that was signed between the Canadian government, the Harper government, and Mr. Clement. I think he was the minister then, or it might have been a different minister, I'm not sure. Was it Clement? That was supposed to say, this is under the Investment Canada Act, no company is ever supposed to take over a company here in Canada unless it is going to produce a net benefit to Canada. Now I ask you, where is the net benefit when the wealth of this operation isn't being realized? We were discussing earlier, there's no royalties being paid. There's no corporate taxes being paid when the operation isn't at full speed. You're not paying any taxes. And meanwhile, we've got deficits federally and provincially. We need that tax revenue. We need that economic activity. Valley Inco is not only acting contrary to the agreement to provide a net benefit, they have become a net drain. A net drain on our economy. And they should be held to account. Now, we can't hold them to account if we haven't got the agreement that they signed in front of us. So we've said, let's change the law and let's make that agreement public. And that legislation is in front of the House of Commons right now. And in fact, we'd be debating it. We'd be getting at it this week. Except guess what? It's not bad enough. It's bad enough that they're letting scabs come into your jobs. In our case, they've locked us out. We're locked out. Stephen Harper put the padlocks on the House of the People. We don't support scabs in any context whatsoever, brother. We have other strategies in mind, like throwing them out of office at the next election. And so, just to show you the kind of impact that this prorogation has, I think Harper thought, you know, it's too hard a word to pronounce. You know, after a couple of beers, it is hard to pronounce, prorogation. Get your mouth around it. And mostly you think of a good Ukrainian food product. But what does prorogation do? It's a lockout of the elected representatives of the people. And when we're locked out, it means that the cabinet, the prime minister, can act without anybody holding them to account every day in the House of Commons. It also prevents us, as a majority in the House of Commons, a majority of elected members, from passing laws that the government might not like. It prevents us from even asking questions of the government. And they don't have to answer any questions when we're not in the House. It's completely unaccountable and undemocratic. And you could say, oh well, so what? Well, it actually has an impact on average, everyday, middle-class workers like yourselves. Because here's some of the legislation that we were hoping to deal with this February. One was to make that agreement with Valley Inco public so we could all see what the deal was that got cut. And we could prove that it's being broken. Second, there's two bills, one from us, one from the Bloc, to outlaw scabs in federal workplace. And there's similar legislation at Queen's Park, as France will tell you. And we know that when we've had anti-scab legislation in jurisdictions in Canada, you end up with fewer labor disputes, more labor peace, and a more productive economy, because workers are treated with respect. Another piece of legislation is one to protect pensioners and retirees and future retirees if a company goes bankrupt. We called it the Nortel bill, but it doesn't just affect Nortel. It affects people in Abitibi-Bowater, it affects people in all kinds of companies, in the auto parts sector, all over the place. People losing their pensions because if a company goes down, guess who lines up first to get whatever money is there, including the pension funds? It's the banks and the creditors and even the government, instead of the workers whose wages, deferred wages, those pensions funds are. And our legislation, which we have put before the House, says that workers' pensions come first. Alors, nous avons présenté plusieurs projets de loi qui visent à protéger les travailleurs et les travailleuses. Mais avec la prorogation, ce n'est pas possible d'adopter ces projets de loi. Même si on peut avoir la majorité des élus en appuyant nos projets. C'est tout à fait inacceptable. So it looks like the fight for democracy that we're having, and you had a great rally here in Sudbury last weekend on it. Thank you for that. The fight that we have for democracy and the fight that you have for dignity in the workplace and fair compensation are coming together. And that's no surprise. That's happened before. And steelworkers and the New Democratic Party have stood together before in these battles. And some of them have been long. And some of them have been very tough. And we know about the historic battles that we've had here. So all I want to do and say in closing is that your members of Parliament here, you should be very proud of them. These guys are working hard on your behalf every single day. And you have one of the finest new members of the provincial legislature that anybody could possibly have in France-Gélinas as well. So I know it's very tough right now. And Valley Inco's ramping up the publicity machine. And they've got high-paid consultants that know how to write the smooth-tongued language. I mean, they know exactly what they're doing with those full-page ads in the paper. And they're trying to turn people against you. And I know that some people are having to now find work far away from their families. And so families are finding it tougher and tougher, and kids don't have their father there, or their mother in some cases too. And they're having to go halfway around the world to find work just to make ends meet in some cases. Whereas we know that there's value beneath the ground that could be turned into the products that we need for the economic recovery that's underway and that needs to be underway globally. And we should be a part of it. We should be leading it. We should have Sudbury back on its feet. We should have you folks donating to the United Way. We should have you folks supporting your families and bringing this community back together the way Sudbury has always been, which is a community that stands together and it doesn't let some company come in and divide neighbor from neighbor, friend from friend, family member from family member. But that's what's happening right now, and it's going to be tough. And all I can say to you is hang in there. You've been here before, or your fathers were here before, or your grandfathers. And you're walking in their footsteps right now. And your party is walking that same path with you. And we will never deviate. On sera là avec vous, pour vous, parce que nous sommes votre parti et nous sommes notre syndicat.
Merci, Jacques.
Merci beaucoup.